NERFD Blitzers, welcome back to the channel. We're reviewing the Centurion Mk1 today. As you see there, I did finally get this tanked after 29 containers. I got on the 28th of 29 containers purchased here. Bought the 21 container pack yesterday, thinking for sure I would get it, thanks to DarthBane, who encouraged me to get the tank and got it on after his 20th. Unfortunately, as you will see here, and I warn you, it's a 3% drop chance. So there is a very good chance that you will not get the tank even after buying 20, 25 or so containers. So only do so if you're willing to spend. And I'm not sure it's worth it. I don't know that it's worth 29 containers, although I like the tank very much. And I think it is fantastic. And there she is with the Dingo camouflage. Apparently she's Australian. Good day, mate. Or whatever you should say to make fun of Australians. I'm kidding. But very great tank. I'm going to do a quick review of it, compare it to other options, and see if this is worth getting. Now, I will tell you, if you're a new player, this is probably not the review for you. We're going to go deep on this one. There's a lot of things to consider when looking at this tank. First of all, this tank is a great tank, and I like it. I'm going to spend some time explaining to the nuances of this tank versus other tier 8 mediums and gold mediums. 1450 HP, that's very good. Excellent view range as well. AP 2308, 304, DPM 226 in pen and 190 alpha. Good, but a little bit lower on device crew damage, which Lance is always pointing. So Lance, you may not want to buy it. Kidding. 1940 APCR, that's actually very strong. That's about the DPM of a regular tier 8 medium, and 258 pen, 160 alpha. And then a little bit lower is HE pen, just 42. This is using the gun rammer, I should say. I don't think you need to use the, I don't think you need to calibrate, so that's what I'm showing you there. It's a British cannon. It's got great velocity and great pen loss over distance. So this tank can snipe. Gun handling, some of the best I've seen in a while for all overall. 1.74 aim time. Dispersion is very nice. Sorry about that. Dispersion is a very nice point when all kitted up, etc. 0.272, and that is the best dispersion in the class. And the factors when moving, the only thing I'd say is when moving and rotating, there is a bit more of a higher dispersion factor. You'll get used to that. But the rest is great. It's got -10 and a terrific turret. We'll talk about the armor in a bit and the armor uniqueness. This is important, the mobility. So this actually has the same engine as the Defender Mk1, which is like 1,045 horsepower, which gives you a 45 top speed, which isn't super fast, but a very good reverse speed of 20. And then you can see the power to weight ratio is excellent, up near the upper 20s, and with a great traverse speed as well. I mean, it's a medium, it should do that well. Now, before I jump into the armor, I want to compare. This is where this gets controversial. Obviously, this tank's in crates. I spent, yes, I bought 29 crates to get this tank. I will show you those in a second. And the reality is you're going to have to spend some crates. I've heard people get it at 20. I've heard people get it around then. But it's a 3% drop chance. So it's going to take some work to get this tank. So should you get it? Well, let's take a look at the Mk1 versus the Defender Mk1 and the Centurion. You also have another tank in here, the Chimera, that I think you could also compare it to. But the Chimera is a totally different tank, so I'm excluding it. And I'll give you my thoughts throughout the video. But overall, you can see that it's the exact same DPM as the Cent1, better DPM than the Defender Mk1. Other than that, everything is the same. Slightly better aim time for the Mk1, but worse dispersion. I call that a tie. And then the mobility, you can see that the 5.1 has the mobility like the Defender and better than the Centurion, particularly on the power to weight. It's got movement like the Defender, although albeit a little bit slower. But it's got a nice armor difference. So let's jump into the armor where I think the differences begin to weigh out. All right, so here's the armor. On the left-hand side, you have the 5.1. On the right-hand side, you have the Tech Tree Centurion. And the biggest thing in what you see is the upper plate difference. The upper plate of the Centurion 5.1 is in the 230s range, where the regular Centurion is in the hundreds. I hated the regular Centurion because if you were hauled down and you poked up too much, you were just dead in the water. That's the key difference. The rest of the armor is essentially the same. And you'll see that in the replays. This tank bounces a lot. And we're going to be Desert Sands here right now with one of our relatively newer players, JustAnotherDream, who really rocks this tank in this match. I think he got a little bit fortunate with some of it. some of the things that go on here. But I think that Dream plays his tank really well. He generally uses the advantages of it in that great turret. And again, what I was saying before about the armor, the Centurion tech tree, Centurion 1, whatever you want to call it, if you poked just a tad bit too much, that front hull, which is gigantic, would emerge and you would get plowed by all sorts of tanks. And that's why I hated the tank. I played with it a long time ago, so maybe I'd be more careful now. But you had to go hull down where you couldn't really pop up and shoot. You had to just stay hull down like you would with a tank that has relatively low or lower gun depression, because if you expose the upper glacis at all, you got pounded. Whereas this tank, you can do that and really just and it's very forgiving. Quite, you're in the 300s plus when you're at -10 with this upper glacis, and it allows you to face hug much more efficiently, as Dream is doing here to this Leo. And he's just bullying this Leo, and that's the way I'd play. You got 2300 DPM, hammer away at it. And the match is going pretty well here. It's kind of an odd match. Dream's heavies got torn apart, but it's still a 5-on-5 based on the fact that the others went to the dunes and their team split too. So I guess traditional, just kind of a mess, and the mess you get in playing blitz pub matches. Dream here is getting pressed on by one of his teammates for no reason. I think he just realizes he's got to get out of there. And he luckily avoiding shots from that Rev 1. And notice the dispersion, the .271 dispersion. This thing is a laser, and I love the accuracy of this cannon. I just kept on. Today I faced a Smasher with mine and just obliterated the guy after tracking him like 4 times in a row. I think he gave up. Shot me in my turret, got 0 damage bounce, and killed him. So, things like that make a tank like this with a really accurate cannon, high DPM, fun to play if you can do it right. Now, I think Dream here gets lucky. Dream, I'm sorry, I do. He charged a full hit pointed 252U, which the 252U, you shouldn't. This tank is still not a brawler. It's as close to being a brawler, I think, as a British tank gets, but it's still relatively slow. And the low alpha here, even though it's got about 300 DPM more than the 252U. The 252U is just going to bounce shots. It's got troll armor, it got great armor, and this tank has good armor, but not the kind of armor that can face hug a 252U and succeed. However, Dream found a player here that is not very good, and there's an example of a bounce. This guy was about a 46%. I actually looked at that later because I was curious, and Dream did tear him apart, and he started to succeed. You see right now, he's got 57 hit points. The other, the 252U has 979. I was struggling to understand how Dream got out of this, but how he did it was, accurate shots, a stupid player against him, or not a great player against him, not stupid, and then the DPM of the tank, and he just keeps poking holes in this and using the gun depression and the hills to get cover when needed. And he gets lucky too. I mean, that's kind of part of every one of these games. This was a really smart shot there, and this guy just couldn't quite get his gun up, which is not a problem the 252 has, just a problem that player has. But there you go. I mean, Dream basically just tore him apart, one-on-one'd him, took him all the way down with a pretty significant damage difference, and and he got no help from his 3 idiot teammates as well. Just kind of the way it goes. But I think Dream made that one work. So you see the tank and the mobility. It's got mobility. It's a mobile tank. It's not as slow as the Centurion, which is another problem I had with the regular Centurion, is the speed of it. Now, the Mk1 Defender is the tank that I think that it's worth comparison. And Lek, after seeing me spend a bit of gold, which I had a lot of gold, by the way, so I don't care, but spend the gold, said, hey, you spend a lot of gold, for an upper glacis. And true, but I think this tank's mobility also helps justify getting it. Obviously, it's gold tank as well. I'm not going to get nerfed and makes you lots of credits. But I think that the speed is another nice advantage that this tank have over the regular Centurion, which is very slow. It really feels like a heavy. Well, we're Port Bay with DarthBane, and initially when I knew Bane got this tank, I was concerned because Bane is a lover of terrible tanks. But that's actually not true. Bane has actually got a good insight for good tanks. He turned me on to the Chimera. Even the VK168, which I bought recently as well, which is actually quite a good tank. I got to give it to Bane and Arthur, who've been saying that for a while. And but Bane got me going on this tank. And watch how he plays this game. This is Bane. This is a hilarious game. He, I'll warn in advance, the ending's not great. However, Bane goes hauled down here in Port Bay, one of my favorite things to do with the medium, and he has got the entire opposite team. It's him and another guy, and the entire team. Did you see that shot on the T-26 Eagle, whatever? What a perfect shot right into the hatch without too tremendous difficulty there. Not a lot of tanks can hit that shot, and look at the way he's just bouncing. Now, I would say, I agree, the Centurion or the Mk1 Defender could both do this just as well. I think the difference for me is with the Defender, it's an autoloader, and I don't like its upper glacis either. And I always feel I've got to get all 4 shots out and then go to that reload, where this tank, you're just shooting 190, just pounding 190 alpha into people, every 4.9 seconds or so. And I think that makes this tank very, very effective. It's also with the reverse speed, which is, as I said, 20 kph, you can really just pop and shoot people all day long. There's a louver, just pounds them right in the front, that little sweet spot there in the rounded front. So you can see that what this tank can do. And again, Bane here is 1 against, or a 2, I guess, against 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 tanks. And he just was holding them and just pounding them out. He's already at 1,200 damage, block 1,300. And Bane's teammates just refused to help. I think they refused to help because they're, maybe they saw him being full health, or I don't know what exactly is going on there. It is World of Tank Blitz in a pub match. You should never assume that you're actually going to get help from anybody. Bane pops the other one. I think that this tank, for me, is going to be my go-to. I don't play mediums often in a tournament, but if I had a tournament tank, it's got enough mobility. It doesn't have an autoloader tournament. I don't like autoloaders for tourneys because you could be in a clip reloading a clip when a teammate needs some help, and I just don't like that. I love the fact that this tank shoots every 5 seconds, and it's almost like a heavy in terms of its size. The biggest difference is just the hit points aren't there for it to be a heavy, and that's going to be a challenge for tournaments for a while to be until they buff the meds, or it just will be what it will be. Because you could take the Sheriff, which is a pretty similar tank, quite frankly. Although this tank may have a better upper glacis than the Sheriff, I actually don't recall. Now, Bane is getting charged by this VK100P, and he does a nice job here. Watch him avoid the ram. Now, this is probably not a good player, camo-less noob, but still takes a lot of mobility, and that's the reverse speed I keep saying, to avoid that ram, which would have been costly for Bane from a hit point perspective. Wouldn't have changed the outcome of the game. It's 4-4 right now. There was really no reason to lose this, except for, I will say, there was a great player from Beta 2, I believe, who was in an IS-6, who ended up really carrying the game for the enemy team. There he is, Srajo from Beta 1. That player kind of carried this team. The other pieces, if you look at the mini-map, there's a flea up there, E25, that I have no idea what this guy was doing. I hope he got reported for unsporting conduct. He just was out of position. He never got over there, and then he came over at the end and just died. Bane is doing all he can here. 3-on-3 right now. Bane and his Tiger are trying to hold off, but the Tiger is out of position. He's fighting Bane's colleague and leaving Bane alone against 2, and Bane just bleeds too much. I think the only thing Bane could have done, and this is not a strength for Bane, he's kind of a lone wolf, would have to stick with that Tiger, because against the louver, him and the Tiger had a chance. However, this is classic pub match. You each take a tank, everybody loses, right? And this guy in the IS-6 just did a good job. Bane did pivot over there to go after the louver. Should have done that about a minute ago. Maybe there's a chance there, although I kind of doubt it. And then he is able to clear this louver to create a 2-on-1. However, again, this idiot in the E25, which Bane, I'll tell you, is a very classic player. Didn't complain about this very much. There comes the E25. After the game's over, flies over, breaks his track, and I don't think he lands a single shot against this IS-6. This IS-6 just pummels him. This guy may have been lagging. There was some weird lagging right there. I don't know who was lagging, if that was Bane or the E25. But either way, this guy really, I didn't look up his stats, but just pathetic. But nonetheless, this is an excellent tank, guys. If you want to get it, I would get it. However, there's going to be some excellent tanks. I would still probably pick the Chimera over it. And Chimera may be for sale again just for gold versus crates. I hate crates. I wish Wargaming didn't sell anything in a crate. And just for that alone, I probably would skip it, wait until it's for sale for gold. Thanks for watching the video. Really appreciate it. And please sub to the channel if you haven't. Thanks.